Hey guys, I'm back, and this is going to be a little bit different, but I have an opportunity to take a look at something that is, it's just awesome. It is awesome. If you're into the old stuff, if you're into working with your hands and with tools, this is going to be really cool. So this belongs to my buddy Dave. Dave is a follower of the channel. He lives local. He is a computer genius. In fact, like IT, that's his business, his own business. He does the kind of computer and networking stuff over at the shop. He has a lot of other clients, and he has an awesome knife collection that some of his pieces honestly put a lot of the stuff in my collection to shame. But no, I've got some good stuff that keeps him on his toes too. But anyway, really cool dude, and he's like a personal friend, not just like a guy I know. But he, going through his stuff, in the family, he had this really sweet old Craftsman hand chisel set. And he asked if I would take a little whack at sharpening them for him. He's got a KME, which is great for blades. It's great for blades. It's one of the finest, but this isn't exactly KME material right here. And so since I've got a little time on my hands, he asked if I would see what I could do. I tried a Lansky. No go. It doesn't work. So I did it by hand, and I did it with an interesting method. I was going to go whetstones and everything, but I don't know if you guys know this. You can actually sharpen things with with sandpaper, with just sandpaper, and under certain circumstances it works amazing, and that's what I used for these. But I just want to show you this. I mean, obviously this has been through some stuff. Take a look at the emblem there. All right, this is when Craftsman was really Craftsman. I'm going to show you the inside of this box, and these are beautiful. Like, these are handmade tools, back in the day. And I have to show you the tag inside the box, velvet lined, or actually felt. Let me make sure I'm getting this on camera. I know there's some shadows, but just take a look at that. You see the pricing on there? So I don't have an actual year or age of this, but these are some gorgeous chisels, handmade by Craftsman back in the day. I wish they had age stamps on them or something. Like I said, been in his family for obviously decades, and they've been hidden away. And he found them, put them through some use, and we wanted to just refine the edges a little bit. So I figured I'd first show these tools off, and then talk a little bit about how I did them, because who doesn't want to know a little bit more about sharpening? Some of the interesting shapes, to sharpen, are these curved ones when you're dealing with that. And I mean, besides that, so when we talk about, often we talk about knife blades with a chisel ground edge, and obviously the chisel in the chisel ground comes from chisels, which is bevel on one side and not the other. So that's where we got it. Now, I did these all with 1500, 2000, and 2500 grit sandpaper. So I'm going to mess this one up, and I'm going to have to go back and fix it. Because these, they don't need to be razor sharp. You want them to be sharp. You don't want to skip off the wood and risk hurting you. But you don't need to, like, shave your arm with a chisel or anything. In fact, that might not be a good thing, because you want it to cut through the wood in the path you want, but you don't want it to, you want to have some control. You don't want it to, as you're laying it on the wood, as you're trying to get it ready, start slicing through it. Those of you who do woodworking, I think you know what I mean. You don't want these tools razor sharp. You want them sharp enough to cut under your control, though. So when you're doing kind of sharpening with sandpaper, if you haven't seen it before, it works really almost like grits on a diamond stone, or you can compare it to fine, medium, and coarse sandpaper. And this is, this is a good example because it is the classic chisel ground. And all you've got to do is match up that bevel on the paper and pick one direction that you're going to go in. And I went in the direction that the grind lines here are already on because it's really pretty. And you just work it in that direction. You can work back and forth too, but easy pressure. Don't try to push it through the paper. You might gouge through and ruin the surface you're working on, but keep it on a nice flat surface. And good quality sandpaper will actually give you a nice honed edge. Now, if you develop a burr on the reverse side, just give it a nice backwards pull, and that should get rid of it. Now, when you're done, you can give it a strop. If you don't have a strop, and I think I've said this before, believe it or not, a piece of cardboard can work as a strop for you. Not as good as using leather, but it is, it's an old-time way to do it. Other ways that you can kind of get rid of a wire edge or a burr is if you've got a piece of excess wood, it's stumpy outside, a piece of 2x4 or whatever, is just run this along the edge of a piece of wood, and that seems to work. Since we're talking about old-time tools, I'm talking about old-time methods. I'm not talking about any big fancy types of tools or equipment. We're going old school with this because I really did enjoy the process of working with these. Now, again, yeah, I could have put them on any number of fancy kinds of equipment, but I really wanted to work with my hands with these. And I have a lot of sandpaper lying around. Now, the Lansky, it was just difficult getting a good clamp on an area where I felt comfortable. Getting the stone and matching the right angle is complicated too. The Lansky has preset angles. There are probably some other angle guide sharpeners that would work, but it was just quicker and easier in the case of these tools to get a flat surface and believe me, these came out sharp. I don't even have paper here. I believe this could cut paper, this one, because this is a double bevel edge. But just to give it a regular old regular old sharpen or hone, and then a little strop on that cardboard, and these are ready to go. Interesting edges that you might have to deal with. These rounded edges, they look challenging, but you know what? A couple different ways you could do this. So number one, you could hold the sandpaper in your hand, curve it around the edge, and just sort of pull. Challenging for you because you have to hold that curve the whole time to make sure you don't get any null spots. Or you could hold the sandpaper down on the flat edge and just work it back and forth in a curving motion as you pull across the sandpaper. And there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. You could also curve it back and forth. Now, again, my goal was to go with the grind lines that were put on the tool in the first place so that it retains kind of its classic look. One of the dangers, again, of doing the back and forth is that when you're holding that edge, you might be prone to gouge through and mess up the surface you're working with. When you get that burr on the top there, then you can use your cardboard strop or leather strop if you have it, just to deburr it, and then very simple little technique to get this kind of edge back into chiseling shape. There's a little small one here too, did the exact same technique, and it worked great. This is back in a time where tools were just made differently, and I think they're gorgeous. I think I've said that about 10 times already. They are really, really beautiful handmade tools. You can see that, yes, they have been used, hit with a wood mallet, to do some fun woodworking. People are always asking me to show, you know, whatever kind of different stuff I have to show, and this is definitely different. So I'm going to consider this kind of like a viewer request. Now, is it worth something monetary? I don't know. They're not in like great shape. They're not, I mean, they're in good shape. They're not in like mint shape. They might be worth something. You got the original little price list over there. I don't know what this kind of set would cost you today. A little quick, interesting way to sharpen stuff like this. Now, you can apply this to your knives, but it is a little trickier when you're doing a blade because you have to make sure you're providing clearance for the edge and the bevel and all that stuff. I would stick to more traditional methods for knives because, well, you know what? I'll address that in a different video. You can use this method with knives, but I use this more for tools that just need refinement than you know, sharpening a knife. Because a knife, you really do want to put more of a controlled, super fine edge on. But anyway, I hope this was again different, suited some people's taste. You enjoyed seeing the classicness here. Tank, all the stuff that you want to see is coming, as is the off-grid stuff. You guys are all absolutely awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will be back again real soon.